Welcome to Cannon Fodder. Now that's more like it. That's more like it, my friend.
I think the onomatopoeia is the way to go. I'll say boom if things are going bad, but things are going not bad right now. So
no, things are going very well for the Blue Jackets, actually. I mean, if you wanted to make an argument for like badness, it would be that typical Blue Jackets history is that they get ripping hot,
right,
and then the Olympics hit, and then they get, it's just all gone. Like like in Christmas Vacation when Chevy Chase, gets the things together, and his wife flips on the light in the back, and he's the only one that can see it light up.
Classic.
That's the Blue Jackets for you usually.
Classic. But no, I mean, Hedge, we're in a unique situation. We are every podcast feels different, and this one, I mean, the playoff odds, I will get into it. You wrote a great piece, kind of just tackling where they stand at the Olympic break, but something's in the air with this team, and it goes beyond bonus. I think we'll talk a lot about how obviously they're 10-1 since bonus has signed on, but this has been a pretty special run, and it's kind of this latest win streak that's propelled them into a really weird position out of the break that we'll get into.
Absolutely. And we'll just give a little quick rundown here. Today is Friday, February 6th. One day, this is the first full day where the entire league is paused for the Olympic break. The Blue Jackets finished their last game going into the break with a victory over the Chicago Blackhawks, 2 shutouts in a row. They won 7 straight games. They finished 11-1-0 in their last 12 games for the break, including 10-1-0 for Rick Bowness, who became the 7th coach in NHL history to only need 11 games to win his first 10.
Insane.
I mean, it's just craziness. They go right into as we just mentioned earlier, they go right into the break on a ripper. They're feeling great. They have 65 points. There was like 3 Metro teams, I think, that played last night, February 5th, and they all kind of went against the Blue Jackets in that one. So the Islanders won against the Devils, so they moved back to 4 points ahead. They're at 69 points for third place in the Metro. The Jackets are 65 points in fourth place. The Washington Capitals caught up to the Blue Jackets in points at 65 points with a victory. However, I think the Jackets have 2 or 3 games in hand on them, which is a great thing for the Blue Jackets, not so great for the Capitals. The Boston Bruins, I believe, are they're the second wild card team.
They are the second wild card. They sit at 69 points, so it's a 4-point gap. And the first team they play out of the winter break is the Boston Bruins in Boston, which, by the way, they are a much better team at home. They are much better in the Garden. I think their home and away record is I don't quote me on this. It might be the most polarizing in terms of NHL teams. They are a much better team at home. So that's going to be a tough one coming out of a break, but very interesting considering where the trade deadline is and what games they have before that break.
Absolutely. They're going to have 26 games still to play, the Blue Jackets will, and I believe it's something like 46 days. I mean, it's going to be basically a game every other day. They've got, I think it's like 5 back-to-backs. They have a bunch of 3 and 4 type things on the schedule. So it's going to be a grind when they come back. Enjoy the vacation now. Enjoy the beach now.
Really enjoy it. And especially Z and Elvis, and we'll get into that. Just real quickly, their games before the trade deadline. So they come out of the break. They play the Bruins at home. And then Islanders. Well, sorry, they play the Bruins in Boston. Excuse me.
Yeah,
home for me.
That's right.
Tough one against the Islanders, but that's at home. That's 2 days later. Then the Rangers, who we have discussed, are in a pit that is different than any other team in the NHL. The Predators at home, the Panthers at home, and then the trade deadline. So kind of a mix of of toughness in those games. But those first two against the Bruins and the Islanders are going to be real telling to what they do, because they do have like basically a 50% chance to make the playoffs. And I think Don as well has a 50-50 decision to make if he wants to improve or kind of move on from this cycle of the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they always talk about how they like hard decisions.
Yeah,
and they're going to have some hard decisions because, it's age as well. Like Charlie Coyle's having a career year right now. He's 34 years old.
Unbelievable.
You know what I mean? But he doesn't play like he's 34 years old. He plays like he's in his late 20s or something. Like he's in his prime. Mason Marchment is like 31 years old, right? Boone Jenner's 31 or 32 years old. These guys they're not. I mean, they're at the back half of their careers. Let's put it that way. They're in the back nine. But where on the back nine are they? Are they in hole 17 or are they at like hole 12 or 13? Is there
depends what court. Are they playing Augusta?
Exactly, right. So they like Don Waddell and his front office team are going to have to figure all that stuff out. Yeah. I get the feeling, especially if they are in the playoff race, if they're solidly in it, I would be shocked if they trade anybody. To be like, if I would, and I actually be kind of surprised if they don't add something.
Yeah,
because this town needs this market, this team, these fans. Like, we need the playoffs here somehow, right? Like, I feel like they just need to like say, you know what, it's got to happen this year. Like,
you know why they need the playoffs? So Bill Simmons could get off their backs.
God, Bill, I was going to bring that up. Bill Simmons, my God. This guy. Don't even get me started on this guy. Another Boston guy.
Yeah, that's just the nature of a Boston guy. Is just being a
God,
a-hole on the internet, I guess is a good way to put it.
I should have seen that one coming. That was like put on a tee for him, where it's like, oh yeah, because you knew that he saw earlier that he got a rise out of people by basically saying that they were inconsequential, and now they go on a 7-game rip, and he's like, hey, it's the most important. Yeah. As if 2019 didn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I for that post or whatever, did he put that on Twitter? Was that a Twitter post?
It was Twitter, yeah. That was where the first thing he said was the podcast. He was asked who the most irrelevant team was, and he said that.
Yeah,
that got a lot of press because Awful Announcing reposted that, and then I did. Right. And then he said that he saw I think after the 7-game win streak, he saw that they were.
I was pretty sure because the only reason I really went to his post this last time was just to read the comments. Yeah, I literally was there for the comments because I knew Blue Jackets fans were going to show up in force to basically smack down anything he said on that. I thought it was kind of funny, but
I think while he is wildly wrong because you could bring up multiple instances and where they've been more relevant, the Lightning sweep, making the playoffs in general.
Yeah.
So the Bruins series games as well. I don't, this is a pretty special time.
It is.
I stole this from Porty. Shout out. He wrote this morning, the current win streak is the first time in franchise history the Blue Jackets have won 7 consecutive games in regulation.
Oh, wow.
Which is, when you put it that way, and you think about their struggles they had in overtime and the fact that they are not even having to get to that. I looked at this whole stretch that they've had of 12, 13 games where they've, with bonus, but even after or before that, when they won that game in Utah, they're not even letting up leads in the third period, which was the big problem. And this I looked at my own. I think the only game in this stretch where they had a third period lead, lost it, and then in general, is the Penguins game, and they won. They won in that the shootout.
Right. Well, there was another one.
They might have been tied, but they didn't lose. They. Okay, I guess to rephrase, games where they had the lead, they didn't. They might have had it tied, but then they regained it.
I got you.
You know what I mean? They didn't lose any games. because of that. So
no, there was that. What was the one game? There was a game where they lost the third period lead. And I'll have to look at the list of games, but basically, I was in my lead. I was just like, God, they're still blowing.
Philly. So
was Philly, yeah.
So I was at that game. So they play Philly. Someone who scored the hat trick for them. Forget his name, but the Flyer, that one Flyers winger scored a hat trick.
Yeah. It wasn't Couturier. It was
Konechny. Yeah, Konechny. Yeah. So
he had like a busted up foot too.
Yeah, and in that I watched those goals back. It was the typical Blue Jackets mistake on defense where they swarm the puck and leave either the Rainbow Road, wide open, and that's exactly what they did in the second goal. And then the third goal, what happened is they did a line change and they let Konechny wide open on the right side, and four of them on the puck. And I have screenshots of the NHL goal layout because it's hilarious. It's just I think both times it was Sillinger guarding him, and it was just like wide open lane.
Yeah, and it's just wide open. I do remember that. Yeah, it was just like defensive breakdowns, and then on the other side of it is Elvis Merzlikins has been playing a lot better since Rick Bowness took over. But if they're gonna do this, they're gonna pull this thing off. They're gonna need him and Jet Greaves both to make some big, huge saves. In those type of situations, and it can't be every game. You're going to give up goals if you're a goalie. 100%. But they kind of need I felt like in that game in particular, at least one of those needed to be stopped.
Yeah,
by an elite goaltender, and it just didn't happen on that. But they found a way to win that game though.
Yeah.
And pick their goalie up and all that kind of stuff, and maybe again, like you said, they kind of left them out to dry also with their bad defense.
100%.
In that one, but those are all things that they're trying to work on, and that kind of gets to what I was going to ask you here and start talking about is like how much of this is Rick Bowness? But like he has to have a large percentage of. I mean, they're going to get a bump anyway, probably.
Yeah.
Just from the nature of the shocking nature of a new coach mid-season, kind of thing. But like I feel like we're past like the so-called dead cat bounce. Like this is 10-1. You can't expect him to go 10-1 in every 11 games or 11-1 every 12. But I think it's real. I think it would be reasonable to expect them to win 8 out of every 12, 7 or 8 out of every 12 if they are doing the right things. It's a good team.
When you look at what the team that was winning at the beginning of the Bowness tenure and the team that is winning now, they're different teams. The Flames game was the first one that Bowness coached. It was at home. They won 5-3. They gave up all 3 goals. We've talked about this game. They gave up all 3 goals on power play, and they looked shaky, even though they won. But that wasn't Bowness's team. It was a team that had not yet kind of restructured its defensive strategy and also its goalie strategy. And I just think the goalie confidence and coaching those two has been a huge difference. You see Bowness hugging Elvis and Jet after games.
Yes.
Like he is embracing them both. And this is no flack on Dean. I just think you're just both of them have confidence again. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they had back-to-back shutouts by both of those guys, and it was the first time they had back-to-back shutouts this year.
Yeah,
which is that's a huge. That's all. I mean, you could break down how they're playing defense differently, but on that shutout back-to-back performance specifically, that is coaching, and that is coaching your goalies and knowing your players. And I just feel like you leave the Olympic break, and both of them have a structured role. I think for a while we didn't really know who was going to be the front man, especially in December when Elvis goes back in and he's giving up all these goals, and then Jet comes in and they're banking on him to play every game, and then Bowness comes in and kind of defines the roles. Jet has been the majority starter, and Elvis taking a slight backseat, but still getting an uptick from December.
That was mainly with Everson, though. That was Everson's thing.
That's what I'm saying. In December, he was the backup for sure, but they only used him in case of emergency, and now you have a defined role for him as the backup.
Yep.
And he's thriving in it. He's playing with swagger. He's drinking water in games. He's being hilarious. He's being himself, in post-game interviews.
Yep.
And that's so huge. And I talked about this last podcast too, but that is all coaching. There's not much, goalkeeping is a finite job. There's a small margin of error for giving up goals. And the most you can control is confidence. And that's what Bowness has done. I would give that part of the defensive credit to Bowness.
Yeah, well, and as the games started kind of coming off the schedule there, as things were progressing, one thing I was noticing, and Rick Bowness made this a very, like at his first press conference, he made this a big point was, let's make life easier on our goalies, and he listed off specific statistics. As soon as he came in, it was like, I don't remember what it was, but he had them all memorized. He was like, we're 31st in, goals against. We're like 31st or 32nd in shots against, like all these different, he like listed off all these defensive statistics that I know Dean Evison also knew about, and Pascal Vincent before him, and the 78 days that Mike Babcock was the coach and didn't even get to coach the team. I know he was probably identifying those things as well. Brad Larson, like all these guys who have been the coach, they all know what those numbers are. But I had never heard any of those coaches make such a big deal about them publicly. And basically just lay it out there like, we will get better in these specific areas. Like, we are going to stop giving up as many shots as we have given up. We're going to stop giving up this many goals because we're going to make it easier on our goalies. And it feels like, if you look over the 12 games or the 11 games that Bowness has been here, that is exactly what has happened. Like, I still need to go back and kind of use the filters on the NHL's website for stats to look at that 11 games, but I guarantee you they're not 31st in those 11 games in goals allowed. They're much better. They've improved dramatically in goals allowed, shots allowed, high danger shots allowed, things like that. All the areas that if you want to get better defensively, they've gotten better defensively, and it's helped their goalies, both of their goalies. And then because he knew with this team, just by watching them, you have enough offense here. Like
100%.
They're not even getting like great seasons offensively from Fantilli or Johnson, or like they're okay, but they're not like ripping it up like a lot of the other young guys so far. Marchenko, he's having an okay year for him, but he's not having like the year that a lot of people maybe thought when we started. But they're getting enough offense. Like Zach Werenski is definitely having a better year. We're going to get to him in a little bit.
100%.
But yeah, so I think Rick Bowness looked at this and said, look, there's enough offensive talent here. But you got to cut down on the goals against, or else you're never going to get what get to where you want to get to. And I think those are the key reasons. That's the key reason why we're seeing what we're seeing.
In December, let me rephrase that. In any point before Bowness, they would not have won a game like the game on the road against the Devils, where they should have played a better offensive game, and they didn't. They really fell flat, and you can look at Corsi in that game. It was on the Devils' side the entire time. They were out shooting them entire time, but
until the third period,
and just the way and obviously, again, I've mentioned this too. I mentioned this in some TikToks I did. Like, Elvis got the shutout. There were definitely some goals attempts missed by the Devils that should have been in the net that hit the sides. But 24 saves and a shutout. I mean, you just don't see that out of them, out of Elvis. You didn't see that at all. Defensively, they were so sound, and really, it was 2-0. That game was really 2-0. There was that weird Matthew Olivier automatic goal, which was hilarious. And I was watching that game. I was watching that game at home, and I was like,
"What just happened there?"
They just had fun, like.
The whole play was fun because they're clearly going to win that game. Like, this is a new team, and the one they got the second goal, which was his goal as well, beautiful goal, scored with the forehand backhand, and beat beat Markstrom, and Markstrom was good that game actually as well. So to beat him like that was impressive. And but then you kind of get the feeling, okay, they're going to win this one. You see that puck go back, and as soon as I saw it go back, I was like, somebody's got to go get that puck. Like somebody from the Blue Jackets, because I saw Dougie Hamilton was not really interested in going back to get it.
Not at all.
Not at all. And I'm like, you can win this race. And sure enough, you see Matthew Olivier just take off like a shot out of a cannon. Yeah. And as so to speak, and he beats him. And it was just watching the whole thing. And then there's the slash. And I was trying to think, I don't think I've ever personally seen that play before. I knew it was
I have not. And I didn't want to admit this for lack of hockey knowledge. I just have never seen that ever. And I thought back.
Right.
Now it makes me feel better that you haven't either.
No, I had not. And I've seen a lot of hockey. Believe me, I've seen a lot of hockey the last 10 to 12 years. I don't think I've ever seen that play. And so it was I love that about hockey, because there's always something that it's in the rule book somewhere, something happens and you're like, I didn't even know that was a rule or whatever. And then you look it up and sure enough, there it is. So.
I have to find, I was texting that night. I have a shout out my friend, Tom. I went to school with him. He got me into hockey in college. He's a diehard Devils fan. And he was like, second one was so aggravating. This is talking about the second Olivier goal. He said second one was so aggravating because why was he skating with absolutely zero urgency?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, there's still a game. It's a 2-goal game. That one confused me.
Yes, I didn't get that one. And this is a guy that had been Dougie Hamilton, I believe, had been healthy scratched within the week before that. For obviously it's nothing. It's not going well if you're getting healthy scratched and you're a guy like Dougie Hamilton.
No.
Right? So to see kind of that one, it just kind of told you where their mental state was at that point.
Right.
They're just kind of checked out, and the Blue Jackets are just on the razor's edge. They're looking for any way to score goals at this point because they're fired up.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But my point was that they don't win those games, or they didn't used to win those games. And then the other thing I had too is that both Elvis and Jet in this stretch have had bad games in that. One of those was Elvis's game against Ottawa. Yeah. And that game was just they gave up 2 or 3 goals in the first period, and then it was just kind of like a shoo-in. All right, we're not winning this one.
That was the outlier for this entire thing.
100%.
It wasn't even close. It was just not. They were just not very good that night in general.
Yeah, and that I get that happens. And the weird thing is they didn't even lose it like they usually were losing games. So I wasn't that concerned because it's not like they scored 4 in the first and then just decided to take their skates off. So yeah, it was. And then the other game was Elvis's game against Tampa. Now I wouldn't say that they won 8-5, fantastic game.
If you're a fan,
fantastic game. If you're a fan, I'm sure it was lovely. I think. They had the lead going into the third period. They kind of just coasted. They scored two in that third period. I think Tampa scored 1. Doing that against they're first in the West right now, correct? Doing that against
hot.
Yeah, or not the West, the East. They're not. Tampa's not in California.
Yeah,
that was impressive, and that was a game where it's like we'll pick you up. We'll pick you up offensively. And you look at the points in that game. I mean, I think Coyle had his hat trick because he had that empty netter at the end. Fantilli had 3 points. Marchenko and Z had 2 points. A whole bunch of guys had 1 point.
Yeah.
Coyle got his 200th goal that game. That was cool.
He had a week span where he just had milestone after milestone. It was the 1,000 game, and then it was the 200th goal, and then he had a hat trick. It was just I
think my favorite thing about that Coyle stretch is the Flyers game was his 1,000th. It was or they were celebrating his 1,000 hitting the 1,000th.
Right.
And they were like the game hadn't even started, and then you just immediately seconds into the game, and you're just like, I was like, what? Like like a second into the Flyers game, he scored.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he is so good around the blue area.
He really is
Unbelievable. Yeah. And we were talking about this last month, how we wanted him out of power play.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want him in now.
No,
I just played the goal horn sound again.
I was gonna say, and I heard that like a minute ago when you first started the thought.
Oh, that was fully intentional.
Oh, okay. Okay, good to know.
I saw you get scared, and I was like, okay, I did my job.
There's a goal horn going off.
Right. I know that's probably like a flashback, like a PTSD for you.
It could be, yes. Yeah. Well, more for Elvis, but yes.
Yeah, there were 2 power plays that game where he had an impact where he was literally sitting right on the goal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible at drawing away defenders from the action that's going on. Yeah. I want to say he had an assist on I think it was Severson's goal in that game where he just dragged all of the defenders near the goal and then set up a play on his own.
Yeah. So, well, he's such a smart hockey player. Like he just is in all 3 zones. He can win faceoffs. Like you could see this. Like if you were just watching or as a casual fan observer when he was on these other teams, and you'd be like, I just remember thinking I would always watch him because I first noticed him really. I mean, I remember him when he was with the Wild, but really it was that 2019 playoff series against the Blue Jackets where, I'm looking at the other team pretty closely because it's obviously a playoff series. And he played so well. And you're just like, I'm just going to watch this guy and see how his career kind of folds up. He was still a young guy at that point. And you would just watch him, and I just remember thinking, like, God, if they could get a player like Charlie Coyle, like he'd be perfect for like this third line. That's like a Stanley Cup type of third line center there. And then they pull this trade off for him and Miles Wood, who was another guy who can really skate and everything else. They had to give up Gavin Brindley, and Gavin Brindley's going to be, I think he's going to be a pretty productive NHL player. He's undersized forward. So they had to give up some stuff to get, and plus draft picks to get those 2. But you can't argue, like you can't complain about what either one of them have given so far to the Blue Jackets. They have given you exactly what that Don Waddell thought they were going to get, especially Charlie Coyle. And man, I'd be trying to re-sign him, with at almost any cost. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy, but at the same time, you don't want to let that guy walk out the door as well.
It's unfortunate. Might sound silly. It's unfortunate he's playing this well right now because of the price tag. And that worries me. And Don is not a guy that will just let that go away. He's going to think about this when we get out of the break. Because is this sustainable? I think this run shows yes, but they might feel otherwise based on their models. So
well, what's really interesting here, if you look at the big picture of like their salary cap and their situation there, is that last year, if you looked at last year, pretty much all of their young players for the Blue Jackets had breakout years. Almost every single one of them was right after. Kent Johnson was almost a point game player. Fantilli had that rip at the end where he basically got to 30 goals. He went from 20 to 30 in 2 weeks or something, 2 or 3 weeks. Matejchuk played great. Sillinger did what he does, that kind of thing. So you started looking at it at that point, and you're like, man, they are going to have to pay a lot. Oh, Marchenko, forgot about him.
Yeah,
these guys are all going to be coming up, right, on their contracts. And then on top of that, you throw on Zach Werenski, and you're like, because Zach Werenski's going to need a new contract after next season. So you're like, how are they going to afford all this? Because these guys are all having breakout years. You fast forward to this year, and Kent Johnson has seriously regressed as far as production.
Yes.
Cole Sillinger's doing what he does. He's basically right on pace, but he's not on pace to have a huge, massive, gigantic pay bump. I mean, he'll get a good raise, but I'm not sure it's going to be massive. And Fantilli will get a really big pay bump coming out of it, his entry level contract, but maybe not as big as what we initially thought it would be when he scored 30 goals. So if those are the cases, and the cap keeps going up,
Right.
It's going to be more of a willingness of the ownership group to actually pay real dollars to keep guys like Charlie Coyle and Mason Marchment and guys like that, knowing that you're going to have to give raises to the young guys for sure.
100%.
But I don't know if they're going to be as like astronomical as I once thought they were all going to be. So I think you might be able to fit them all under the roof there.
Yeah. Projected cap space this year, 10 mil. You know, and it's really interesting. Is just considering, like, what do you think they need? If they were to add, they don't have much space to add, right? They obviously are working with, they could send someone away and open up more cap, but like we just said, a lot of those pieces that they have on these, you know, that are free agents in 26 are very crucial to the team's success. And I think no one is more important than Marchment and Coyle, just because of their production. I think you have to make with these decisions too. Obviously, you can't be emotional about them. And
no, and you're like, I think what they need. It was funny. I was given the shush sign because my son just got home from school. So, you know, like in my wonderful studio here, which is
hey son, what do you think the Jackets need?
Exactly, AKA my front room, my front sitting room here.
Nice.
You know, if we look at what they need, they don't need a whole lot right now. Like they need depth, you know. I think it's more like you need kind of insurance policies. I mean, a guy who just came through, honestly, with the Blackhawks, Nick Foligno, the former captain here. If they make that guy available and it's not like you know, break the bank type thing as far as picks, I think you got to think about it. You know, bring him back maybe. And
where would you slot him in?
Well, at this point, he'd be on the fourth line somewhere, either center or maybe I think he likes left wing. But like it's a lot of it is more just it's you're getting people for insurance, right?
Yeah.
So
that would probably help just with offensive production on that line because, you know, obviously hasn't been, you know, we talk about the more, I mean, it goes without saying their fourth line has been pretty shaky the whole year. So,
well, it is. And like if you get one injury, you know, as you like, let's say it's the last week before the playoffs and you've actually secured a playoff spot and now you get a big injury to a depth forward or something, you'd feel a lot better being able to throw like Nick Foligno in there full time or something like that than having to dip into the AHL and bring somebody up. So it's more depth type of maneuver. They have good depth though. I mean, if you look at it right now, I mean, when they come back, they already have 8 NHL defensemen right now as well. Like with Fabro back, you're already scratching Christensen and Zamula. Honestly, I don't mind either one of those guys if they have to play either Zamula or Christensen. I think that they're solid third pairing guys. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do at the deadline because I don't you know, everyone always classifies it as buyers or sellers. Right. I see the Blue Jackets this year as more like stay put guys,
which is weird to say, but I tend to agree with you just based on like if it ain't broke.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, like that's the whole thing. We'll see what transpires when they come back from the break, because like you said, like so the trade deadline I believe is March 6th, and they come back I think their first game's the 26th or something. So you're gonna have you're only gonna have basically a week.
Yeah.
But in that week, you're also going to have some key games, and it's going to be like 3 or 4 games in a.
Yeah, it's almost too early to say what they do, just because it's like I don't think they even know who they are right now, just because like this break, like it is rather unfortunate that they're getting hot right now.
Yes,
this is just side note, like this is how the Red Sox treat me every offseason or every trade deadline. They play bad and they play really well heading into either the All-Star break or the trade deadline, and it creates situations like this where the Blue Jackets have had so much parity in between play. But I do think that, and we'll get into this, I do think this stretch is enough you need the playoffs back here.
You do.
And if you're, I think you can't spend too much time thinking about the long term now because you have something special going on. So.
Absolutely. All right. So that kind of wraps up, what we were going to talk about, just kind of like the last stretch, the bonus bump, as we'll call it. Let's shift our focus forward a little bit and let's talk some Olympics. I know that you're going to be all over the Olympics for the Dispatch, write about all the local ties and everything. And I will as well.
We are the Olympics reporters for our little paper. I love the Olympics. My first job out of college was covering the Olympics for NBC, and I got a really close look at kind of what their coverage looks like, and I'm so pumped up for them, my former coworkers, because it's a crazy time to be like an Olympics. I mean, obviously, it's a crazy month ahead. It's a lot of sleepless nights, especially with the time difference. But I did become way more entranced with Olympic hockey during that time, even though I didn't cover it, and now I'm going to be taking point on the Ohio State women's hockey players that are in the Olympics. They got a ton. They have 13 players that have either been on the team or are currently active on the team. Joy Dunn, who is the one of the 5 active players, got her first Olympic goal yesterday before the opening ceremony is going on right as we speak.
It is,
there are 3 Swedes that are on the active Ohio State roster. I talked to one of them for my piece that I did at the beginning of this month, but they all three of them got points in their opening win against Germany. So it's cool to see them doing well. But the more important for now in this podcast, the more important topic is our 2 Blue Jackets that are there, which are Z and Elvis, and the one Ohioan, JT Miller, who could probably use a break from his current team right now. So
sure seems like it. I saw him ask like what they need to do or something come out of the break. And he basically was like, I don't know. Like,
he said, get another mindset, I guess.
I was like, get another mindset, I guess. Like, I don't know, that can't be great there in Ranger Nation, and they just traded Artemi Panarin, but we don't want to go in the woods there. Obviously, no Russian team here at the Olympics. So that should be noted at least, because there's just so many good Russian hockey players that won't be participating in this, including Kirill Marchenko. You have to think that he would have been part of like a Russian team, maybe Provorov as well, that kind of thing. But they're not there. So when we look at this field, Dan, who looks like Marcus Nudavara, I haven't noticed. We haven't talked about that yet on the podcast.
No, we haven't. That was a great discussion, though.
Oh, it was fantastic. Within an hour of you covering a game in person, Aaron Portzline looks at him. He goes, "He looks just like Nudie," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So all Blue Jackets fans who've been fans for a while and remember Marcus Nudavara, they're going to look at Dan and be like, "Oh my gosh." There he is. They're trying to sneak this guy in here under the guise that his name is Dan Aulbach.
Yeah, right.
It's really nudie. So anyway, getting back to the Olympics, we're gonna have Zach and Elvis facing off in
their first game,
the very first game, Latvia and the U.S. in prelims. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun. Look, this U.S. team is great. Obviously, they have some really, the Tkachuk brothers, the Hughes brothers. At one point we thought it was going to be Werenski and Seth Jones. I think Seth Jones is no longer on the
He's not on the roster. Team. Yeah, he has a broken collarbone,
which is really rather unfortunate. That would have been cool to see, I think, for a lot of Blue Jackets fans too.
For sure.
So I think they, projected lineups have them slotted second defensive pairing just because they're, unfortunately the U.S. has some great defensemen.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah,
and we'll get it. By the way, there was an ESPN article about the Norris Trophy voting that I would love to get into because it was quite horrid where the voting is right now in terms of Zach Werenski's incredible season. But anyway, this American team is stacked. However, this Canadian team is like it could be one of the best national team lineups ever.
Yeah.
Just because, obviously McDavid and that bunch. So I'm really excited. The Four Nations was such a great teaser into what we'll hopefully see as a U.S. versus Canada final.
Yeah.
But there are some, Finland and Sweden are also extremely talented
Yeah, you can't
rosters.
sleep on them.
Cannot sleep on them. And that's why I love Olympic hockey, because it's just, there's no, Olympic basketball, like obviously the US has had that last Summer Olympics, they had a really good run. They played France, Victor Wembanyama, and that was a really good final. But the US is so dominant in basketball, and it's just not the case in hockey, and it makes it better.
Right.
I love, that's why I love Olympic hockey. But anyway, it's going to be really good. The top 4 teams are really, really good.
Yeah, and so in that Four Nations, Zach Werenski led all players in scoring. Actually, was very underrated in that as well. He's going to have a great tournament as long as he stays healthy and everything. He's going to have a fantastic tournament. He'll probably be one of the leading scorers again. Just his game has gone to that level. We'll talk about that in a little bit. When I look at the U.S. and Canada as the two top. Yeah, you got to put them up there as the favorites. Canada, I think you're right. Overall they have the edge in terms of just depth and scoring and things like that. But I think the U.S. the U.S. has the edge in goaltending.
100%.
And defense. I'd say defense and goaltending. It's hard to say that when Canada's got Makar, who's an unbelievable defender. But you just mentioned the U.S. They're going to roll out 3 defense pairings of just ridiculous talent.
Absolutely ridiculous. You look at it on paper and it's there are Hall of Famers on this list.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. For sure. And so that's put that in front of your goaltending, Hellebuck and whoever else out there. It's going to be it could be another classic matchup. If those two are the ones that make it to the gold medal game. But you're right. What's interesting about international hockey, if Czechia made it, everyone's going to talk about how the upset story and everything, but I wouldn't be 100% shocked if Czechia made it either.
100%.
They have good players. Latvia has NHL players that are out there, and Elvis, for whatever, I would like to talk about Elvis a little bit. They are major underdogs for sure. 100%. He's the first one to say that. But we've watched Elvis in previous men's world championships basically carry the Latvians into either close to the medal round or definitely out of prelims. And they weren't supposed to get out, and other goalies have done that as well for Latvia. Latvia, they tend to have some pretty good goaltending. So it's going to be really interesting. This is going to be a great tournament, I think. And it is fun to see Elvis going against Zach. I remember we talked to Zach right before he left, right after the Blackhawks game. And I asked him about facing Elvis, and he basically said, well, I'm not really a trash talker. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to be saying stuff, but
Elvis would be silly American and then block your goal.
Yeah. No matter whether he gives up 6 goals or no goals, the guy is going to have something to say when he's out there. So that'll add a little bit of flavor into it as well. But I'm looking forward to the Olympics. We're going to keep checking in at Dispatch. Dan's going to have all kinds of coverage. I'm going to have I'll have all those how to watch. Elvis Brzlikins play for Latvia.
You all will know how to watch Elvis.
You're going to know how to watch Elvis and Zach, even though we only have 2 guys on these teams, but you're going to know how to do it. Just check into dispatch.com regularly throughout the Olympics for all our Olympic coverage. Dan and I will be on it. Yep. So let's move on from the Olympics and let's talk about Zach Werenski. And it's almost at this point, it's just kind of almost laughable to talk about how good the guy has been because so last year he puts together a runner-up Norris campaign. And honestly, throughout the whole season, I was kind of surprised that he finished as the runner-up because, as we know, players from Columbus and the Blue Jackets in general tend to get overlooked on the national stage in the NHL. But he finished runner-up. And when he did that, I know for a fact there were people across the league that felt like, oh, well, that's an awesome season for him. Great job. But that was a one-off, and he's going to go back to just being very good. He's gotten better. Like, he's gotten even better. He's leading I think he's leading all defensemen at this point in goals with 20. I think he's leading all defensemen in scoring with 62 points, I think.
I would like to. I think you're right. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that he is doing that. He's leading in like points per game. Now his minutes.
Bouchard has one more point than him.
Oh, he does?
Yes, 63 to 62. But yeah,
that's probably from last night then. It was probably from, Edmonton probably played last night.
A breakdown of that. Werenski has played 52 games, by the way, and has 62 points, 42 assists, 20 goals. Bouchard has 58 games played,
right,
and 15 goals, 48 assists.
So definitely, because Zach missed time because of injury, so he has less games played and almost as many points.
In this article, by the way, and I it's very interesting to look at this stuff when ESPN reaches out to all the writer voters and on Norris and all these awards. It's really unfortunate that Werenski didn't even get a vote for first place.
He didn't even get a vote for
not a single vote.
Who are the voters?
Well, because I think this is so I'm pretty sure this is polling the PHWA voters.
Is it just Bill Simmons?
yeah. It's 60 Bill Simmonses.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is they poll the PHWA and
wow.
they vote anonymously, and the leader in
asinine.
If my page would not crash on me, I just scrolled down and it crashed. Obviously Makar,
right,
and he was last month unanimous choice for sure. They pick this every month. Last month unanimous choice. He got all the votes but 2 first place votes, and the other 2 were I don't want to butcher his name. Moritz Seider on Detroit, Seider. And Miro Heiskanen.
Yeah, Miro Heiskanen. Yeah.
So, which again,
these are elite defensemen. Don't get me wrong.
We are in an age of the NHL where there are so many good defensemen, and the fact that Quinn Hughes didn't get a vote on this is insane to me, because he plays 27 minutes on ice.
Right.
Was the only thing going for Vancouver until they traded him, and now he's doing better on Minnesota, and he doesn't even get any votes.
Right.
Makar, obviously, fantastic season. He is such a good defender, and I mean, he is a pure defenseman, right? And that's probably why, in the Norris Trophy, I'm assuming they kind of value the defense versus Zach is playing like an attacking defenseman and has 20 goals.
Right.
One of the quotes in the article is that one of the voters anonymously said, it's insane that Werenski's season is getting overlooked. It's unbelievable. So,
well, okay. So earlier today, as I was kind of updating that story I did about the at the break, the Jackets playoff glance, how far back are they, where the odds are getting. I happened to go over to hockeystats.com, which is a site that I had not really been to as much. So I figured, I'm going to kind of play around on this a little bit, just see how everything goes.
Right.
And, they have all kinds of stats and everything. And so I looked at wins above replacement. And if you go,
they have WAR in hockey.
They do. And
that's awesome.
let me look at, so who's leading the NHL by a huge margin in WAR? It would be Zach Werenski.
Oh, really?
Zach Werenski is at 3.59 total WAR, and his even strength offense rating for them is 1.26. The next closest to him is Bouchard at 2.67 WAR, and I think the offense is 1.4.
Bouchard didn't even get a vote in that Norris Trophy voting, so it just goes to show you. I mean, you could just reading off the list of the top point getter defensemen: Quinn Hughes, Makar, Werenski, Bouchard, McAvoy, Schaefer, Sanderson, like so many. There are so many good defensemen in the league right now.
Oh, I wish I could share my screen with you on this, but like basically, it's laughable. Like I said, Zach's at 3.59 WAR. There's not a single other defenseman in the entire NHL that is even close to 3. Like the highest is Bouchard, and he's at 2.67.
Yeah,
like it's not even close. It shouldn't even be close. There shouldn't even be a debate. If it ended today and we said we had to vote, it should be unanimous that Zach Werenski is the Norris Trophy winner this year.
So I think the strong argument is Makar. He
also has to look at the team he plays for compared to the team that is he leading his team in goals and points? No, because he's got Nathan McKinnon, he's got all these other studs. The Jackets have good players, but they are not the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, I think and while I don't think he'll win the Norris Trophy, Zach, just because of where this stands right now and how many games are left, and the Blue Jackets could easily fall out of the playoffs. They're very volatile right now.
True.
I can imagine that more than 75% of those writers would vote for Werenski or consider voting for him if the Blue Jackets made the playoffs. And I think it's honestly it's kind of it's unfair, but at the same time it makes sense. Like if your team's not going to make the playoffs and you're doing all this, like. Yeah, you're not going to get votes. I mean, that's kind of how most awards go. Like you're not going to win MVP if your team is like 3 and in the NFL. You're not going to win MVP if your team is 4 and 13.
Yeah,
it's just kind of how it works. So unfortunate, but I think the stats will kind of show up, and people at the end of the season would be like, "Look at this guy." I mean, like if they didn't have Z, where would they be right now?
Right.
Not in the playoff race, that's for sure. So,
all right. Well. We don't need to say too much more. We're gonna watch it as it goes on, and that's the whole thing. Is like he was ripping through last year, went to Four Nations, did great there, then came back, and he kind of went through a little bit of a 2-week dip that it just kind of brought him just far enough back to the pack to where he didn't win. And so we'll have to see what happens, how he ends up playing coming out of these Olympics, things like that. So anyway, we're going to move on to our final segment here. And it's going to be a new little thing that we're going to bring to the Fodder podcast here. And we're gonna
maybe a little debate in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure some of these topics will touch on what we've already talked about a little bit, but we're going to expand on that. We're going to call it goal or no goal, right? So we're going to ask a question, and then you and I are going to decide whether it's a good goal. Or no goal.
And pretty simple. Pretty simple.
Yes or no stuff. So goal for yes and no goal for no. So
and we have, as you might have heard earlier in the episode, we have the capability for sounds now. So you'll hear either the horn, or you'll hear a goal. So which is brilliant audio work. So
fantastic.
We'll be doing that, but I think the first one that I would like to discuss, and I'd like you to, we did talk about it. Are they selling? The Blue Jackets have a handful of games after the break. They currently sit 4 points out of the playoff spot. They are a 50% chance to make the playoffs. I'm going to interrupt because the opening ceremony is on and Latvia is walking out, and I do see Elvis looking very merry.
Is he looking dapper?
Yeah, they have. I wish I could show it, but they have white coats. They have the I don't know. Again, I know nothing about Latvia. I'm so sorry. They have 3 stars on their hats.
Okay.
They all have these white waist jackets down their knees, so they look good. And you can see Elvis because he's tall and he stands out in the crowd. There's like 30 or so Latvian athletes. So
wow, I saw a photo before we got on. I saw a photo of 4 of the U.S. guys, one being Werenski, and they're all in like a polo Ralph Lauren outfit. Like that. Well, it's the U.S. team's outfit. I have to say, like I always feel like the Winter Olympic outfits are better than the summer ones.
100%.
They're so fun. Like they look ridiculous sometimes, but they also look pretty cool.
My favorite, real quick before we go to the segment, my favorite thing about the outfits of the last Summer Olympics was they all had the Ralph Lauren suits. I think they had blue suit jackets.
yeah.
But the best part was that LeBron, they had holding the flag of they had the boat, and they had him, and it looked like he was crossing.
I remember that.
It was LeBron crossing the Delaware, and that was just the funny. Except it was the scene. It was funniest thing I've ever seen.
That is funny.
I love the Olympics. Anyway, are they selling? Hedger, will go with you first.
All right, I'm gonna say no goal.
Ice was correct, no goal. You're not gonna like it, but the call on the ice was correct, no goal.
No goal. Yeah, it doesn't reset. No goal.
No goal.
They're not
Here's
selling.
What I'm gonna say. Like I think Don Waddell and the Blue Jackets front office, I think they're gonna get some very enticing offers because the guys that they potentially would trade are all players that could make impacts for other teams in the playoffs. Boone Jenner, Mason Marchment, Charlie Coyle. Those are the top three. Erica Branson, honestly, would be another one. Those are all pending free agents who are veterans with great experience. I think that they're going to hold off, though. I think that they're going to stay in this thing close enough to the playoff cut line. It's only like a week when they come back, and they need to make the playoffs themselves. You can't do that really if you're making a bunch of trades and you're a seller at the deadline. So no goal. Dan?
You're not going to like it, but the call on the ice was correct. No goal.
I'm going to agree with you simply because their trade assets are all forwards. And if they had like a clear position to fill and like sell one and then get someone else, I would say yes, they should at least sell. But I agree. I don't think they do anything. I just think they're too close to the cap right now. I think all their vital free agents are impactful players. I just don't see it. And if there was a path to, replacing one of those guys, like why would you even go through the leaps and bounds of replacing someone else with like, someone with a longer tenure or something like that? I just don't think it's worth it right now. And they should just ride with what they got. So
yeah,
I agree. No goal.
All right. Next question. Will Zach Werenski, the aforementioned Zach Werenski, break Artemi Panarin's franchise scoring record for a single season, which is 87 points, and was set in Panarin's final season here in Columbus, 2019-20? Is Zach Werenski, he got 83 points last year, I think, 82 or 83. I think it was 83. I have to look that up. But anyway, can he get 5 more and set the franchise record as a defenseman, franchise record for scoring? Dan, go ahead.
After reviewing the play, the call on the ice stands. We gotta go.
Yeah, there's too many games left. 26 games. His last 5 games, he went 2 points, 2 points, 1-1-1. He gets a point every game. If you just do the math, he's going to break the record. And that is, barring, injuries, knock on wood. I think he'll be raring to go out of the Olympic break. I think he kind of, he said it, like he wants to play. I think he wants to, you could argue maybe he wants to play Blue Jackets hockey right now, but obviously the Olympics is a huge deal. And I know he's focused on that right now. So he will absolutely, I'm pretty confident. So
yeah.
Hedge.
All right. This is a good goal.
Yeah. Nice. I'll just play until the. By the way, I did see there was a video of the Chicago Tribune Blackhawks reporter who was at. This was on Twitter. I don't know I forget who posted this. So if you're watching this, one of our fellow reporters posted a video of the Tribune reporter reacting to the cannon. Totally got. He jumped maybe 4 feet up his seat, which was me at my first 3 games. So
it's hard to get got anymore because they used to get you right at the beginning of the game when they came out. Welcome to the ice, the Blue Jackets, and boom, it go, and everyone wasn't ready for it. Now they do the thing where like other teams have the siren and all that stuff. They have the celebrity person. So they're doing all that now, and so they predict before the game when the cannon's going to go, but you still got to be prepared for it after goals. That's when they get you now. But anyway, so getting back to Werenski, yes, I 100% agree with you. He is on pace, I think, right now for like in the upper 90s for points, which is insane for a defenseman. It's crazy to even think that a defenseman could push like almost the 100-point mark or something if he keeps going like this. So even knowing that and building in probably a step back at some point in some of these games, I mean, it's just kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to take such a big step back that he gets under 87 points. I think he's going to get over it. He's going to set the franchise record as a defenseman as the highest scoring Blue Jacket in a single season in history. Good goal.
And he will not get a Norris Trophy vote.
He'll get my vote. I'll tell you that much. He's gonna get my vote.
All right. Next one. Will Adam Fantilli reach 30 goals? I'll go to you, Hedger.
All right. I am going to say no goal.
You're not going to like it, but the call on the ice was correct. No goal.
Yep.
And here's the thing. I do think we have not seen Adam Fantilli have the kind of crazy hot streak that he showed last year at the end of the season. And it was at the end of the season last year, so there's no telling him. He may have another one of those in him. But at this point, he just looks snake bit, like he's getting scoring chances. He's just not beating goalies right now. So I think that the chances are there, but just looking at the odds, I mean, he's got 13 goals right now, I believe.
13, 23, 36 points.
To score 17 over the finals 26 games, I think that's just a bit much. But we'll find out. I'm going to say no goal, though.
I'm going to agree. I'm not going to play the audio. I'm going to agree with you. They're getting production from scoring in other ways right now, specifically a lot of the wingers and the defensemen actually have been really promising on scoring. And that's just not how they play. Most of their scoring chances aren't on like these fast break north to south sort of deals. And that's how Fantilli scores. And that's just not how they're playing right now. They are not scoring as much in transition as when they have all five guys in the offensive zone. And that's just not Fantilli's game. And that's fine. I just think they're right now they need to find a fit for him and how he can kind of get back, because as a breakaway player and as like a wicked fast skater, he could totally be the answer for like a good playoff push. Yeah. It's just not in the cards right now. So,
right. Go ahead.
Next one. Will Elvis finish the season with a GAA below 3 and a save percentage above 899? I will go with this one, and I am going to say...
You're not going to like it, but the call on the ice was correct. No goal.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's shocking. Okay. I just don't think there's enough games to make up that.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think he will get better. Right now, I just had his stats in my notes. Give me 1 second. I think his GAA is 349, which is a lot. That's not you. I mean, he did have that shutout, and you'd have to see how statistics. This is not a knock on Elvis. I just think that is two tough benchmarks to make up. I think he gets his save percentage above 900 because that's closer. But 3.5. He's played 21 games, and he'll probably play 8 or 9 of the next 26, right? So maybe 10. I don't know. Yeah, anywhere from like 8 to 12. I just don't think that's enough to make up the room.
Okay.
So.
All right. I got you. All right. I'm going to say good goal.
After reviewing the play, the call on the ice stands. We got a goal.
All right.
And here's my logic on this. I do agree with you. There's not a lot of time left. It's going to take some doing.
Yeah.
One thing, just anecdotally, and I'd have to look at the exact numbers here under bonus, but since bonus has taken over, it's been very rare that Elvis has given up 3 or more goals.
Yeah,
that's all the stuff we talked about earlier about how they're playing better in the defensive zone. They have better sticks in front of the goalies. They're clearing out rebounds. That has all helped both goalies. And I think it's really helped restore Elvis's confidence in there as well. And Rick Bowness, Jet Greaves was the hands down starter in this situation when Everson was still in there at the end. Since Bonus has taken over, it hasn't really been an even split. It's been more Elvis than Jet. Jet's
surprising.
It is a little bit, but at the same time, they're he's looking at it saying, this is our, veteran goalie. Let's see if we can get him hot and ride him into the playoffs. So
so maybe I'm wrong about the games. Maybe you're right, because he has been played. It's been pretty even split. If not, I think Elvis is
I think
played
Elvis
more
has
games
played
in this
more.
stretch?
It's been 11 games under Bonus. I bet you Elvis has played 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, because Elvis has played his last 5 games: Jersey, Chicago, Philly, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, which that's to January 17th, and they had like maybe 2 or 3 games in between then. So
I mean, they're not going to ride him into the ground,
No.
he's not going to play every single game. But I think if he can continue to limit goals like he has been, and gets the majority of starts in these last 26, I think there's a shot for him to get under 3.
Right.
And over 8.99, but we're going to find out. I'll say goal. You're saying no goal on that one. We have one more question left here, and it's a big one.
Okay. We do. We sure do.
This is the big one. I didn't want to start with this, but you don't want to start with your biggest one. So you got to work your way up. So Dan, I'll ask you the question first. Will the Blue Jackets make the playoffs?
I thought about this for a little bit.
I hope so.
Yes, they're making the playoffs, and it's not just wishful thinking. There is evidence to back this up, and my evidence is that while the top teams in the Metro are very good, they're chasing the Bruins right now, and if you were just to, and sure, like the Caps could heat up behind them, but they have the game advantage on the Caps. I just don't trust the Bruins, and this is coming from I don't think they have the sauce to maintain their current record. I think they're 6-3-1 in their last 10, but I'm thinking offensive upside. This team has it. I think they have the recipe for at least making the playoffs. I don't know about a playoff push, but they at least have the recipe to make the playoffs. Good goaltending tandem, offensive scoring on pretty much every line, and a star player. And I just don't see that with the Bruins. I just if we're going strictly off of like an isolated who's getting this last playoff spot, I do think the Blue Jackets can catch up, and that is why I think they'll make the playoffs. But it is going the telling game will be their first 2 games out of the break.
Wow,
that will be telling. And
right away.
I would rather make my decision off of that, because it's how you can respond to adversity and really tough games that will decide a playoff push. But anyway,
okay. I'm gonna say good goal.
Reviewing the play, the call on the ice stands. We got a goal.
Nice.
Yes, and there are, just like you have put a lot of thought into this as well. There was a point here about a week and a half ago where when you looked at the standings in the East, you came away with it thinking their only shot to make the playoffs is within their division. Mm-hmm. Like they need to catch third place. That's the only shot, because in the East at that point, the Atlantic was running away with everything. And they had both wild card spots, which they still do, but the gap is a lot closer. Mm-hmm. So right now, as they go into this break, the Blue Jackets are only 4 points back of the Islanders for third place in the Metro, but they're also only 4 points back of the Bruins now, rather than 6, 7, 8 points back of the second wild card. So now you have 2 avenues to get there.
Right.
The wild cards have come back into play for the Blue Jackets. So I think that it plays into their favor. Also, when we look at the lineup, and we haven't talked about this yet, I'm sure that Boone Jenner, the captain, is not exactly thrilled to be moved to the 4th line. No. I get that. However, and I was saying this all season long, he plays better when he's in the middle of the ice.
Right.
And in this team, because they are so deep down the middle of the ice, that it's not a shameful thing or anything to be the fourth line center, because like if he's your fourth line center, you're probably a playoff team.
Right.
Like you're probably a playoff team. You might even be a playoff team that can do some things in the postseason if Boone Jenner is centering your fourth line, because that means Charlie Coyle's your third line center, probably if not the best, one of the best third line centers in the league.
Right.
And then Sean Monahan, when he's healthy, second line center. I'll take that any day of the week. And then you got Fantilli, who's not scoring goals, like we said, but he's doing a lot of other things very well, including winning faceoffs against some of the best people in the league now. Boom, 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 right down the line. You got 4 really good centers. And behind that, you still have Cole Sillinger that can play center if needed. You have Isak Lundestrom, who can play fourth line center if needed, if there's injuries. This team is deep. This is a deep team, especially up front. We haven't even talked about the back. And now, like you mentioned, the goaltenders are playing. Both of them are playing a lot better.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be 26-game sprint to the finish. 4 points out of the wild card, 4 points out of third place in the Metro. I think they make it good goal.
Yeah. And just for comparison's sake, looking at the team they are chasing, the Bruins, they have a better Corsi and a better expected goals for.
Yeah.
The Bruins actually have a Corsi under 50. They have 49%, which, I mean, it shows you that they don't have more possession of the puck. They're just good at scoring when they do have it.
And that is a key, though. And you got Pasta and you got Swayman, and
and I love me some Pasta. Like I look,
yes,
like
me too.
Tell you what, I just defensively where they sit comparatively. I think if the Blue Jackets can maintain offensive, because the Bruins on paper have better offensive players, obviously, but I do think, this goaltending tandem is going to be key. And if they can steady the ship and like we said, Elvis has been getting more of the games. If you can keep the confidence up, then I don't have a doubt they can at least make it competitive, and it already is. So.
Yeah, well, it was so critical to just kind of shrink that gap before this break happened, and they did that. They accomplished that. So even though Rick Bowness made a point of it, saying, "Hey, even though we did all that stuff, we're still outside the playoffs," he's right. But I mean, they put themselves right back in it. And I did a lot of talking about how the point differential actually wasn't terrible when Dean Evison got fired. But you had all these teams between you and the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's a two-way street, right? So now when we look at it, we can say, well, maybe Buffalo falls back, maybe Boston falls back,
right.
Maybe Detroit goes and stumbles a little bit, maybe the Islanders don't have it in them to keep this up. All these kind of things are so as much as we looked at it and said, oh God, it's gonna be hard to climb over all these teams.
Yeah.
There might be some teams that fall back if you just keep kind of, staying on a steady trajectory upward.
I think the pathway of the wild card is a little more likely just because of how good those top 3 teams are in the Metro.
Sure.
But like you said, there are 2 avenues, and they could easily hit both.
Yeah. So, all right, well, this is going to wrap it up. We went a little longer than I was hoping.
It's okay. I actually do have some important news out of the national hockey world. This is out of NBC WJAC 6 in Pennsylvania. The prosecutors are pulling charges against Gavin McKenna.
They're pulling the charges?
Pulling charges after reviewing video evidence. So
Really?
So he is not going to be charged for aggravated assault, most likely.
Wow.
Which is huge, because that was a shocking story, by the way, reported by student journalists at Penn State.
Yep.
Yeah. A crazy story. Obviously Vancouver, is most likely going to get that pick, or they.
I think so. I mean, you'd have to see who's got the best odds to win the lottery.
Yeah.
But and then he started the season. Gavin McKenna started the season as the clear-cut number 1 overall prospect.
Yeah, and
he has since kind of dropped a little bit, but I still think he's got time to work his way back up there. He's been playing really well for Penn State. That's interesting. I was a little shocked that that happened, but Wow, I'm even more shocked now that they brought those charges and now all of a sudden they're pulling them. So
yeah, it's investigators allege assault stems from an exchange of words. But they said prosecutors believe that McKenna did not act with the intent to cause serious bodily harm, nor did he recklessly act with extreme indifference to the value of human life.
Oh my God!
And that is enough to not make him prosecuted. So
the person he punched had like 3 fractures in his jaw, and he lost a tooth, and he got a concussion. He's in the hospital.
Yeah, allegedly.
We'll
he is in the hospital. That is true, but
yes.
Crazy story, but it's that'll wrap up us for a little bit. We'll check in with you guys. I think next week we'll do something. We'll see how the Olympic boys are doing.
Yep. And for sure, by the time the prelims are wrapped up, and then right before the medal round, or not medal rounds, but the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
We'll check back in here, do some Olympic stuff, catch up stuff, Blue Jackets related, and we'll cast another little look toward coming out of the break.
Yep. All right. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.
All right, Becky. See ya.
Peace out.